Welcome into today's podcast, right here at the Cog Hill 40. Peaches wouldn't let Nugget into the canned ham for this episode, so here's Jason and Brooke. Johnny Carson didn't have nothing on these folks.
What is going on, y'all? This is another episode of the Cogcast podcast coming at you from the Cog Hill 40 in the canned ham.
And you just cut your mic off.
And I just cut my mic off. Now we're better. All right.
I am not Tracy.
No, you're not Tracy. Oh, man. You know what? That was an awesome podcast.
Well, from the really comments awesome that I read, everybody enjoyed it.
Yep, everybody enjoyed it. And she's just so daggum knowledgeable.
She certainly is full of knowledge.
Man.
And every time that she comes over and we're around her and we start talking about gardening and, you know, getting off the subject of life and into the garden, she just mind-boggling.
Yeah, she just knows so much. And it's just, we got to get her knowledge out to the peoples.
That's
you know
right.
What I'm talking about? Everybody's got to.
Yeah, because not everybody has a Tracy.
No.
And so I think it would be I think it's an awesome idea to continue to have her on the podcast, maybe monthly if she chooses to.
She chooses to. We'll figure something out. She's just so knowledgeable. She really is. And two, you know, we're in our tight confined area right here, but once we get in the house and get our little studio,
I can join, and
we got a third mic, and we can even add more mics. I can add 4 mics on my setup, so we're good.
Not to say that the only knowledge that I'm good at is driving a tractor. So I can chime in and tell y'all how to drive the tractor, and y'all can talk gardening.
You got some knowledge. Don't act like you don't.
You know what I mean. Garden is not my thing, and not to say I don't enjoy it, but my knowledge is just not there, and the willingness to learn is not there, and that's what you have to have in order to be successful.
That's right.
It's not that I don't enjoy it. I enjoy helping you.
Yeah.
But it's just not my thing to go initiate a plan to start a garden.
Yeah. It's and gardening is not your thing. It's
just not.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their different forte, and I don't have the patience.
Yeah, but you have been helping me here lately. We have been rocking the flower farm.
I'm gonna tell you, my legs were some kind of sore at the end of yesterday, and I don't know exactly what I did except go up and down 1,000,001 times that could have made my legs be sore.
We've been doing a lot of walking. We've been averaging nearly between 13 to 15,000 steps, and basically it's all been in the flower garden area.
And a lot of it is working, but in one spot, so that's not counting for steps.
Yeah, that's true too. But we have been rocking it. We finally figured out the first, I call them rooms. The first little area, the first little room, and I decided originally it was going to be 4, but after Tracy came and we talked and she looked at it all and gave us so many great ideas, I decided to do 6.
When Tracy came, I had some ideas in my head as to where the greenhouse could go and this, that, and the other, and all that was just blown out of the water.
It was.
And not in a bad way, because my idea was just not even something that came up when she came. Her ideas were far above what I could have ever imagined.
Yeah. She's just so knowledgeable. She has a degree in interior design. She's certified for garden and landscape design. She's got another degree in some other type of design. She's a designer.
She's a designer, and not just designing as in interior decorating, as in garden design and landscaping. Yep. Just an example is Jason and I, we've showed y'all on the videos the way the gate looks and the way the little fence that joins into that gate, the way it looks up top. Well, we call it up top at the entrance of our property. And we have those Yoshino cryptomerias planted as a windbreak and a backdrop in front of our fence that goes around our property. Well, it looks so pretty with those green trees and the black fence behind it with the mulch in the bed.
It really does.
That Jason and I had in our mind, we would just plant grass, sod, on the outside of the fence and let that be it. However, we are open to ideas. Well, Tracy took one look at it And she said, okay, this is what I would do. It was no hesitation.
No hesitation.
I would add some big boulders.
Yes.
I would incorporate some grasses. I would try to keep it as less formal as I could, and break up some of those straight lines.
And that's, the curved beds.
And then add grass on the outside of it. But, oh my gracious, I was so excited when she took a look at it because I really didn't want to just do grass, but I felt like that was the only answer.
Yeah. It was immediately, the big rocks were, that really, as soon as she said it, I envisioned it automatically. And I was like, that's going to look so good.
And then she suggested getting the boulders or rocks first.
Yeah.
And placing those and then plant sporadically around the rocks. And I was like, bingo, that all makes sense. Because if you plant and you come back and try to put a big boulder in, it may or may not fit. So she gave us some suggestions as to where we could possibly purchase these big boulders, because she's not talking about something like this. She's talking about something like this.
Yeah, something pretty big. Something that I'm probably going to sweet talk Mr. Greg and see, because I'm thinking if we get it, the people that maybe, if we do get them delivered, I think they're not going to place them for us. I think they're just going to deliver.
You
think they will place them?
I think they will. And if not, I think that they can drop them and we can roll them with the bucket of the tractor.
I just don't. Those things are going to be heavier than what you think.
My tractor is a big, bossy lady.
Your tractor come off the ground when you had a load of dirt.
That's because I didn't have anything on the back to weigh it out.
It ain't gonna make
Greg
no
told me that I needed to get some weights for the back of my tractor, and it wouldn't do that.
Okay.
So he and I have been discussing the tractor situation and how to make the big girl beefier, and don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. So anyway, she suggested that we get the boulders, and she said Russell Do-It Center over in Prattville sometimes has them, and I've seen them there before, but I've never physically got out of the vehicle and went and looked at them.
Right.
So we have a friend who we've mentioned before on the podcast, Miss Kathy, who lives up the road from us. And she was the first person we met when we moved here. And Miss Kathy had a couple of pigs that she needed a trailer for. Well, we just so happened to have our little old 2-horse trailer, and I had offered for her to borrow it many months back if she ever needed to use it. Well, Saturday morning, she called me and she said, hey, is there any way I can come get your trailer today? And I said, uh-oh. You can, but I've got it slap full of scrap metal.
Yep.
From us picking up here on the farm, every time we find something that's metal, garbage man won't pick it up, and I can't just take one piece at a time to the dumpster. We put it in the horse trailer. So literally, it was so full that you couldn't open the door anymore. We had just been putting stuff through the trap door and different things. And so it was Saturday. And I was like, there's no recycling centers open on Saturday. I Googled all of them in our area, and lo and behold, she told me of one in Prattville that may be open. It's like 30 miles from here, 25 miles. So I called them, and sure enough, they closed at 11:50. I don't know why 11:50, but 11:50.
That is odd. Yeah.
So spur of the moment.
11:50.
Spur of the moment. Marycarl and I jumped in the truck, hooked up the horse trailer, and went to Prattville so Miss Kathy could have the trailer for what she needed. And I don't promise something to somebody if I can't fulfill it. And I mean, it would have been easy for me to say, hey, the trailer's full of scrap metal. You can get it from somebody else. But I don't work that way. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's just not right. When you tell somebody something, you do it. So we went to... Marycarl hates scrap metal places. She hates them.
She hates them.
Because everyone we've ever been to is just it's a cluster, for lack of way to describe it. It's just stuff everywhere. There's cars going everywhere. There's junk everywhere, and she don't like it. But she didn't fuss. She said, okay, I want to go with you. And we hopped in the truck, went to Prattville, and lo and behold, when I went to go over the scales, that's the first thing you have to do.
Right.
You have to drive on the scales and stop, and they get a weight of you with the load of whatever you're taking for scrap.
Right.
And then after you unload, you go back on the scales and they get another weight. So that's how they determine how much to pay you. It wasn't necessarily so much about the money, even though the money is nice to have a little extra from the scrap metal. It was disposing of it.
Right.
So I go across the scales, and this woman comes out there waving her arms. And mind you, there was 50 cars going every different direction. And I got out of the truck on the scales, which afterwards I read a sign that said, "Do not exit your vehicle on the scales." And I said, "Did I do something wrong?" She said, "Yes, ma'am. You need to turn around. You need to come in the other way." I'm looking around, and I'm like, there are cars lined up at both ends of this thing. Some that need to be weighed, some that have already been weighed. I don't know where to go.
Right.
So I put my big girl panties on, and I backed that trailer off the scales, and I got back in the line going the opposite way. So about 2 hours later, I got the trailer emptied. And since I was already in Prattville and Tracy had mentioned going by the Russell Dewitt Center, I did so. And I'm sending Jason pictures because he was here working at the farm. And I'm sending you pictures of the boulders. And y'all literally, there were two stacked on top of each other that were huge. They were the height of Marycarl put together.
Yeah, they were big.
And they're put on a pallet.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't mean that our tractor, like you said, calling it a wimpy girl, but you don't think that our tractor will pick it up.
No,
so
not at all.
I went inside and I said, "Do y'all deliver?" Because Jason asked me in the message, he said, "Do they deliver?" And I'm like, "I don't think so. I don't think they're going to bring you any boulders." And so I went inside and I said, "Do y'all deliver?" And they said, "Yes, ma'am," for a $25 charge. And I was like, yes.
Worth every penny of it.
But I wasn't going to make a decision
right.
without you being there because first of all, I don't know we need to look at the area. We need to figure out how many we want, what size we want. Marycarl would like a couple for her pigeon aviary. And, I just want it to be a one-stop trip when they deliver them.
Right.
So that's my story. I'm out of breath now.
You out of breath? The whole rock thing really, really intrigued me. And it's going to be, she's super, it's not going to be
formal.
Not formal at all. It's not going to be symmetrical. It's not going to be the same on either side of the gate. It'll be,
just
the rocks will be
looking.
random. We'll have some grasses there, and she's probably some perennials, and like some black-eyed Susies. Wanted to make it look very, very natural and native to our area, and so that's our plan there. And then going into the flower farm, she's the one that said for us to put the greenhouse dead center.
I don't even know if we've told anybody that, have we?
I can't remember if we mentioned it yet or not, but dead center of the flower farm or the flower garden area. And I'm going to do 6 different rooms, and we started working on the first room 2 days ago. We got the weed mat down. We're finished getting the holes burned on one side, and we're going to
finish it today. We're going to finish the hole burning today anyway.
And we're debating on planting the plants today or not because we got a big storm system coming in late. They keep saying tomorrow, but all indication is it's really going to be Thursday morning, like 2 a.m.
They said it'll be gone by daybreak Thursday morning, so it's going to be during the night, Wednesday night. But they're acting like it's going to be a significant weather event.
Yeah, the wind again. This will be the 3rd wind advisory that we've been under in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's springtime, and springtime in Alabama is just like oil and fire. It just doesn't. Gas and fire. It just doesn't mix.
Yeah,
it's
oil and water. Oil and water don't mix. That's just saying.
Oil and gas and fire don't mix.
They mix pretty well.
Oh, okay. Scratch that. Edit that out. But back to the idea of planting in front of the gate. Man, I was so giddy when she started talking about it. I was like, look, let's go on the outside of the gate and talk about this. So we went around, and she's like, spurting it off the top of her head without even thinking about it.
Yeah, she walked around the whole place and was just giving us ideas left and right, and of course we can't remember it all at all.
No, I told her, I said, well, you better be planning on coming back because
you gotta come back.
I can only retain so much. And right now I'm retaining what she said about the entry.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like fresh on our
mind, and it's something that can be done relatively
easy.
easy and fairly quick.
Yeah.
Something that's not going to take a whole bunch of work per se. I mean, it's probably going to take us a week to week and a half to get it done.
Yeah, and that's working on a little bit at a time. But first thing we need to do is lay out our weed mat and kind of get our curves and figure out what we want planted area,
right,
and what we want as far as grass goes. And I'm gonna tell you something though.
What's that?
That kind of thing doesn't necessarily say whip me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
physically.
Right.
But what we did yesterday and the day before, I felt physically whipped at the end of the day.
Well, it was full blazing sun, even though we had our sun hats on and stuff. So you know how the sun would get you. And it was a lot of physical work. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of steps. Our rows are 30 foot long, and we got 26 of them. So we rode out 26 rows.
30 foot long.
And so there's a lot of measuring. There was a lot of walking. Because you got
a lot of up and down.
It was a lot of up and down.
Maybe that's what got me so.
A lot of up and down. Yeah, it was. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I wish this.
You think just rolling the mat out and going to the next one, but it's not. You have to measure it, away from the fence to a certain amount, and then we got to measure in between rows a certain amount. Get it rolled out. Got to measure the length. Cut it off. Then we start putting the staples in, but we got to measure it. It's a 2-man job because I'm measuring.
It's probably more like a 5 or 6 person.
And then, you're putting them in, putting them in, measuring, putting them in. And
you know what part of it that
26 times. It was a job. It
really was a job. You know what part of it I dislike more than any other?
What's that?
Putting the staples in.
Yeah, putting the staples in is it's just so repetitive. It's just over and over. And how many staples are in one 30-foot row? Probably.
My goodness, a lot.
A lot more than you think. It's
probably 75.
It's probably 75.
Because you think a foot apart on each side, that'd be 60, and then all the ones that we put
in the middle. Mm-hmm.
And so 75 times 26.
Yeah,
that's how many staples we had to nail.
Right.
And you want it to be, semi-symmetrical.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of measuring, a lot of up and down, a lot of mistakes that we had to, in turn come back and fix. And I don't know. I just, whew.
Well, I say the first probably 5 took a
forever.
Long time, but as the further we went on, the more efficient we got, and we had gotten pretty quick at it. There, after about the 5th or 6th one, we got pretty quick.
Realized how much we disliked it, and we just started moving as fast as we could to get it done.
Well, I realized that, all right, you'd put one staple in, you stay at the end, we'd roll the mat out, I get at the end, measure 2 foot, we put another staple in, and then I would leave 3 staples there at the end, because I know when we cut it off, because this is what was happening. This is why it would take so long. Is you'd go down to the end, cut it off. All the staples are at the other end. You got to get up and walk all the way back to the other end. Get your staples, go all the way back to the other end, and just little stuff like that would end up taking, 3 extra minutes. But then you multiply that times 26. That's a whole nother hour you wasted. So we got really good at we wrote down, put 3 staples there, then come back to the beginning and start measuring. And I would measure and I would push the staples down. You could push them down so far, and then the palm of your hand gets really sore. Mine's sore now. I even sort of touch it from pushing it. And then you'd come back and would nail them in. Then when you go to the other side, do the same thing. Well, then you would start cutting the mat off. Your 3 staples was already there because I left them. I'd go back to the beginning, measure 2 foot, put the flagging in the ground, measure 2 foot at the end, put the flagging in the ground.
I don't know what you're talking about. So
and pick the roll up. We just cut off and start all over at the beginning, and our measurements are there because I just measured 2 foot. And we got really pretty quick at it.
I tell you.
Still was.
I think it's because we realized how much we disliked it.
Yeah.
And Tracy told me one of the first times that she came over here was one of the hardest things to do in gardening is things that you don't like, well, not necessarily benefit from,
right, but
you can't see results.
Right.
I mean, that's nothing pretty, but it has to be done.
It's nothing pretty.
It's
has
just
to be
prep
done.
Work.
And two, I'm a little discouraged because I was hoping to have a load of compost to come, but our source of compost, where we're going to get it from, ran out. So my situation is try to find more compost. My plants need to go in the ground today. I looked on the thing. It's over 4 weeks today since I started the seedlings, and flowers are super fast. It's not like tomatoes. You can see my tomato seedlings versus the flowers, and the flowers are 5 times the size of the tomatoes.
I was saying that I told you this morning I thought we needed to probably wait till after the storm because of the wind potentially destroying the flowers.
Right.
But you know what?
Yeah.
If we leave them in that greenhouse, there's a chance that the greenhouse could be destroyed. I would have to take them to the barn.
I'd have to load them all up and take them to the barn.
So maybe we ought to try to plant them.
But the thing about not having a compost is so do I wait another while to figure out getting compost here, or do I just go ahead and plant? And I made the decision to go ahead and plant because my soil is going to be something that's going to build over time anyways. And I feel like I just can't wait anymore. If I don't do something, then these flats of seeds I got, over 700 of them, flowers, are going to go in the garbage.
Yeah.
And so I got to do something.
It's better to put them in the ground and take our chance with the weather than to put them in the garbage.
And it's not like my soil is total trash. I really got great soil here. That's what's awesome.
And plus, that's where the pigs were. Yeah. Where we're planting first is where they did their job and tilling it and adding compost to it that's natural.
Right. So I think I'm going to be okay. It's just not my exact ideal.
Well, I bet they're going to grow.
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to grow, too. I really do. But, it comes back to, if you kind of wait for something to be perfect, then you won't do it. Well, there's a saying or something I read that, perfection does cause you to not do things. Because you want it to be exactly right or exactly this or exactly that, and 99% of the time it's not. Well, so go ahead and do it.
If we're waiting in our life for things to exactly fall in place,
right,
I can just about bet you that 9 times out of 10, not everything is going to be correct.
Yeah, you're right.
So you just have to take that chance and make that jump and hope for the best.
Yep.
Hope for the best. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like with this flower situation, you're never going to have it perfect weather. You're never going to have perfect soil.
No,
perfect.
Because you've been questioning the timing of us planting because you've heard 2 people, a weather person and somebody else, say we got another cold front coming at some point, and I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah,
I gotta plant them. If they stay in the flats, they're gonna die. If I plant them in the ground and we have a frost, I got tarps we can run and buy. There's several things that we could possibly do. They're outgrown those little. Unless we repot them, but that's 700 and some odd.
Yeah,
to repot that'd be a lot of work.
I came in yesterday. Well, after we got finished prepping some of the beds, and I told you, I said, Jason, what's going to happen if we put these plants in the ground and it freezes?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, the last frost is usually April the 4th in our area.
April 2nd.
April 2nd. And I had seen on one of the weather things that said, don't plant yet.
Yep, don't
plant
yet.
And actually, a local nursery said, we have zinnia seeds in, but of course it's too early to plant yet.
Yeah, that's what they say. I'm gonna roll with it. My gut feeling, the pecan trees have budded out.
Yes.
That's what Granddaddy always says. Once the pecan trees bud out, it's safe.
Well, our 7-day forecast does not show any freezing temperatures.
10-day forecast does not show any freezing temperatures.
And that's putting us into, close to the 2nd week of April.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually, we're I think we're fine. I think we're absolutely fine. And as long as it doesn't, 32 for a little bit, it's not going to be that bad. It would have to be, for several hours.
Well,
I think we're okay.
Nothing we can do to control it.
It's not.
So unless we go ahead and plant and just roll with the consequences if it happens, then, you're just sitting idle.
Right.
What's the point?
What's the point?
What's the point? Get up and do something. Go.
I will say this. I had in my head what this thing's going to look like, the flower farm. But once we got that thing laid out, that's a lot of flowers.
Jason he and I will be out there together, and he's like trying to tell me, okay, I'm thinking this. What do you think about that? I'm like, yeah, I'm just here to help you.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're talking about, but just tell me what to do and we'll get it done.
Right.
It's not that I'm not interested. It's just that I don't have the vision that Tracy has, and Jason has it too. He's just not as experienced as Tracy.
But you can see though, that's a lot of flowers that we row wise. Once we get it all out, that's,
and I can see
a lot of flowers.
That if we plant some perennials around the outside border and make rooms, I can see all of that.
Yeah.
And I can see the greenhouse is going to be pretty in the center.
Right.
But I don't understand how there's going to be 6 rooms.
Okay.
And the greenhouse be in the center because 6 is, you're not going to, I don't know.
Well, the greenhouse will intersect. It'll connect all 6 of them.
Okay. That's enough.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I counted we got 26 30-foot rows and basically 160 plants, 160 flowers per row. So that puts us at little under, it's like 4,160 total flowers in the first room.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of flowers.
And not to mention that Jason was installing drip tape.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Which will water all the flowers
right.
because there's no way you can physically go out there and water each individual flower. So he installed the drip tape on top of the weed mat. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that he was doing while I was burning holes. And we were just trying to cover as much ground as we could.
Yeah.
And it's just repetitive.
But the good thing is, once the holes are burned in the fabric,
you can reuse it.
We can just reuse that over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Until it deteriorates.
Until it completely deteriorates. But that's going to take years.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's going to take years.
Because if we have to sign up to do this over and over every year, it's not going to be a fun job for Brooke.
You know, I did realize, though, after yesterday, is that I'm probably going to have to get me a rear tine tiller. You know, we got the one on the tractor, but just say, for instance, I do get one bed needs some compost. We can take the staples up off one side, flip it over, put the compost in, till it, flip the weed mat back over, and put the staples back in. And that would save so much time instead of tearing it all out.
Well, we won't have to have that this year because that weed mat's all down.
No. Yeah. No, I was thinking in advance because.
But don't tell me we got to pull it back up.
Oh. No.
Not even if it's next year. Don't tell me we got to re-pull it back up.
But the holes are done. And like I said, you would just take one side up and flip it over.
Still
put
a big
the compost
job,
in and flip it back.
Still a big job.
But it's going to have compost added to it at some point because I'll end up just using everything in the soil up.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I understand that,
right.
But I don't want to think about it.
You don't want to think about it right now?
No, I don't. I don't want to think about it right now. Marycarl, I mean, she's like, Can we plant yet? Can we plant
She's
yet?
so eager to plant.
And
so eager to plant.
Another thing is we had all the geese in the flower garden area.
All the geese over there.
And we did that on purpose so they could, consume the grass and have a lot of nutritional needs in that grass. Because
right.
Geese are grazers, and they love it. And so in order to not just waste our cover crop, we put them in there, as y'all know. We put them in there. And it's 12 geese altogether. So how many we have total? There are 3 geese that are sitting on eggs.
It is geese breeding season right now. And yeah, they are. I asked Marycarl how many eggs is it they're sitting on. And she said, I don't know, Daddy, because they won't let me see them. Now,
I have looked up under them.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And Jacqueline at Head Family Farm, we gave her 7 eggs, 7 goose eggs when they came to learn how to take care of our farm before we went to Oklahoma. And she said 5 out of the 7 are fertile.
Wow.
So you know what that means?
Bunch of little goslings.
Yeah. And they're sitting in compost.
Yeah, they made their nest in our compost pile.
And one of them is up on the top of it like she's sitting on a throne. And her husband is guarding her.
Yeah, cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe is guarding her. And then Marycarl said he's the husband to all 3 of these.
Really?
Yes, and that's why there's no other men in there.
Wow.
On the back side of the compost bin, which is made out of pallets, there's a space about this far from the fence to the compost bin. There are 2 more.
Yeah.
female geese that are sitting on eggs. Now, one of them I was able to look up under one day, and she only had 2 eggs. There's no telling how many she has now, but it was only 2 that day.
Well, the thing about them is they hide them so good that you don't really know how many they got.
No, there's no way I could count them. I mean, Marycarl took 7 before they started sitting to give to Jacqueline, and that wasn't a drop in the bucket. And Marycarl said that she follows a lady that has a duck rescue and rescues other animals as well. And there was a duck egg that got wedged down in the ground, in the dirt.
Right.
And she destroys all the eggs because she doesn't want to recreate a population. She's trying to take care of the rescues that she has.
Yeah, I got you.
Do you know that egg hatched in the dirt?
Because was it a compost pile?
I guess.
Because I just thought about when you said that, I was just thinking that the compost could keep it hot enough.
Exactly.
That's very, very interesting.
Isn't it, though?
That is pretty cool, be honest with you.
I want to say she said that lady named that duck Sunny because, like the sun hatched the egg.
I got you. That's funny.
Isn't it something?
That's something.
So they're sitting on them, plus they're in compost, so you have to imagine the hatch rate's going to be pretty high.
It's probably going to be pretty high.
We're probably going to have like 75 goslings walking around.
Well, the dilemma with them being there and the geese being in there is...
in the flower garden.
In the flower farm is that they'll eat those plants that we're planting, and in a matter of minutes, they would be gone.
And they have plenty of grass, but it's almost like you see that extra item and it just tastes so good that you just forget about the grass and decide to eat this. So we didn't know what we were going to do.
So I kept telling y'all, we got to get those guys out. And Marycarl was like, well, Daddy, they're sitting on eggs. I said, well, can we move them out and take their eggs out and put them in the other pasture where they originally were with Nugget? And she's like, no. And I was like, well, we got a choice to make.
Yeah.
Either we don't plant flowers in this area and not have a flower farm until these things hatch, or we got to move them. And
that's when Marycarl tends to shed a few tears. She's not a very emotional child, but when she's faced with a decision like that, she doesn't know what to do. So she gets tears and she's like, well, we can't just let the babies die. And that's not what we were.
No, it's not what I was planning.
She doesn't know how to handle it.
Right.
So I came up with the solution of putting the poultry net fencing around the area where Cantaloupe and his 3 wives are sitting on eggs.
Yep. So I did that yesterday. I got them separated out, and we put a swimming pool over there. They got plenty of grass because that's 164-foot netting. So it's plenty of room for them, and they don't get off the darn eggs.
They don't get off. They go take a sip and a bite.
And they go sit back down
a couple of times a day, and that's it. But they will be amply provided for with supplemental feed and a pool and a water, and the rest of them just when we shoot them, they went right back out. They went right back in with Nugget, and haven't looked this morning to make sure they
were fine. Everybody was fine. I've already looked. Everybody was fine. Matter of fact, they were in the back eating grass, and then when I threw the corn out, they all came up.
I have a feeling that in some of those females that came, because 8 came back.
Yeah.
8 came back to live with Nugget.
Yeah.
And some of those are females. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling they'll be making their nesting area.
Probably so. It's crazy.
They mean business when it comes to breeding season.
Yeah, they do. They're very hardcore, and it's a community with them. I mean, they all work together. The males are very defensive. And if you're wanting to get geese, just remember that if you get a pair or more than one, and when breeding season starts, the females are not that bad, but the males, they can get quite cranky.
And not to say that we as adults can't defend ourselves, but if you have children and you're thinking about adding geese, just think about that, because it does happen seasonally, and there's nothing you can do to control it.
And they're like anything else. They can sense fear, and they do not
back down.
They do not back down, except with me. I just walk, I don't even pay any attention to them.
Yeah.
And they realize that this guy is not scared of us whatsoever, and they will hiss at me, and I just walk straight to them, and they just turn around and take off running. But in the past, with Marycarl,
even when she was,
they can sense the fear with her, and so they don't back down from her.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, they do. They just
same
back
with
down.
me.
They just keep going off. But I saw the other day that they ain't never done this with me. But I saw the other day you had run them off, and you were watering, and you turn your back. And either cantaloupe or hump was coming. He was fixing to bite you
I'm not scared
fixing to bite you in the hiney. I mean, he turned around and I shoot him off, but he was
I just come at them with my arms spread out.
Oh, man.
And, if they're coming at me hissing, I turn around and I go at them with my arms spread out. Not that I'm going to do anything, but they see me as being inferior, and that's that.
Yep.
But a lot of times your fear, if you're scared, will overwhelm you, and they sense that.
Yeah, they do sense it.
There is no backing down. They're going to continue to come. And
right.
So just think about that. I mean, geese are awesome. I wouldn't imagine myself ever not having them.
Right.
But then again, I'm not scared of them.
No, I'm not scared of them either. Not scared of them at all. But I can see, if you've never been around this kind of stuff, they are very intimidating animals. They are. And all the big ones are. Turkeys are too. I mean, I can see.
You know what else?
What's that?
They do have teeth.
They do. They do have. Is that what they're called, actually? I don't even know what they're really called.
They look like razors is what they look like.
And that's what they use to cut the grass with. And they're on their tongue and their upper beak area.
Maybe we can find that picture and post it.
I'll never be able to find. I'll find one, though, maybe.
Post goose tooth pick.
They are. They do get you. And the way their teeth are, they go at an angle. So once they bite, it's hard to get out.
It's like
it doesn't draw blood or anything.
Oh, yes,
but it
sir,
will.
It will.
It will bruise you.
It will draw
time.
blood too.
Oh, really?
I remember one time when Marycarl was little, and
I remember that one biting her, but I thought it was just a
drew
bruise.
Blood, and it was not good. And I think that's when she really determined that they can hurt her.
Yeah.
And she got a little scared. However, she's not so much now.
No, she's not that scared of them now.
And we kept telling her, Marycarl, why do you want to have them if you're scared of them?
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to have a conversation with the child because while it's easy for me to understand, it's not easy for her to understand.
Right.
So just keep that in mind that even they can be a little.
They can get crazy, and that's why people have them. That's why we call them the alarm system. The anything strange that comes up, they honk and
whether it be the middle of the night.
Yep.
I mean, I can hear them sometimes inside the camper at night, and you know that something's going on. Not necessarily that we need to go, right. Join in on, but they get riled up about any little thing that's different.
They do, and that's why they make great
watchdogs.
Well, not only watchdogs, guard dogs as well. That's why a lot of your chicken farmers will put them inside the free range area where they're at because they deter hawks. They deter your smaller predators like a raccoon or a possum, or we don't have minks or those weasels. But those smaller ones, now a dog or anything canine or bigger, they're not going to deter that.
I do remember one time when we were at Little Cog, we had a wonderful Sebastopol goose, and she was, like I said, when they're determined to lay and they want babies, they're gonna sit, and you're not gonna move them.
Right.
And she had picked a not so good space to lay her eggs and sit, and there was no way we could pick her up and move her, and we knew that it was not the best location.
Right.
But what were we to do about it?
Right.
So she was actually killed by a predator, and we don't know what that predator might have been, but she defended her eggs. Whatever the predator was that took her ended up taking her eggs, but she took her own life because she was protecting her. Yeah,
she was protecting the her little nest area there, and it had to have been a canine type predator.
I don't know. I just
because they got all the eggs, so it was something. Cause
coyote or something like that,
or a fox. They just can't ward off something that big at all. They just can't. But they'll do a good job otherwise. Oh yeah, they dang sure make you think they can. Absolutely.
They'll make you think that they could handle a bear. And
they can handle one though. The house.
Yeah.
The houses went from 2 weeks of barely moving because of the nasty weather we got, and lots of rain to getting a bunch done.
We got a bunch done. It was like we were at a standstill.
Yeah.
Then next thing you know, we've got the framing done inside Mama's house.
Right.
Next thing you know, we've got the garage doors going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got porches being poured.
We got electricians, got plumbers, sheetrockers,
spray foam installation.
All that's happening like today, yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
That's right. I mean, it's
air conditioning guys coming to do some measurements today. So yeah, the garage and the mother-in-law suite is moving on, and Brent and them have started on our house.
Yes.
Early stages, but yeah, all that's happening. All that is happening.
And our videos are current. So when you see what happens in Wednesday's video, it probably happened Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or Monday
Exactly.
And we just that's what's happening. I mean, we're not trying to hold anything back.
Right.
It's just that's the way it happens, and we are waiting on spray foam. We're waiting on some finishing plumbing to be done, which I think I heard the plumber go by a few minutes ago.
I do.
I asked the air conditioning guy because he asked me if it was okay if he could come take some measurements this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, now's a good time for me to ask him when the system may be in, because I'm thinking like into April.
Yeah.
He said, I'm hoping it's going to be in this week.
That's crazy.
And if that's the case, then, he may be able to get that installed next week.
That would be unreal. So, yeah, that would be unreal. I
cannot tell you how much smoother this build has gone than when we built our first house. And, people say when you build a house, you'll never do it again. Well, of course, I was one of those that said I'll never do it again.
Yes, we did say that.
But at this stage, I'd build a house again in a second because everything, I enjoy getting things lined up. It just does not take me over.
Right.
It does not. And if you're not one of those people that can handle that kind of thing, of course, it wouldn't be for you. But I feel like I like running a tight ship, and I like having things bam, 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 back to back.
Right.
Like, you would be quick to tell me, tell the spray foam guy he can't come Wednesday because Russell's not finished with the plumbing. And I'm like, tell him to come on, because I'm going to tell the plumber it's got to be done by Wednesday because spray foam's coming.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that I like to have things going.
Yeah, because I worry that it's not going to be done, and the spray foam guy's going to go, well, I'm here, but now I can't do it, so it's going to be a month from now before I can come back around.
See, and that's why I tell him to come on, because we're going, if he can't spray that one wall,
right?
Start on these other walls, and by the time you get back around here, we'll have this finished for you. Because if you don't, you're never going to get anything done. You put them off one day, and that could mean a month.
Yeah.
So, come on, spray foam, we here.
Come on,
goats.
Come on, goats.
I've heard that before.
Oh my gracious! Yeah, we've heard that a lot.
So,
I am curious about the whole spray foam thing. I'm curious how that's gonna. I'm anxious. I've been around this type of stuff because my dad's owned an electrical company. My granddaddy's owned it first, and my dad's got it. My whole family are electricians. I've been in the construction business and the automobile business pretty much, my entire life. And so I've seen the wiring done. I've seen plumbing get done. We've seen sheetrock, but I've never seen spray foam done in person. And that's really got me intrigued. I know I'm not going to go in there because they're going to be suited up with all that stuff and all that kind of good stuff. But I'm just curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah, he said
really got my interest peaked.
Today, which is Tuesday, he was going to bring some of his equipment,
right,
and start spraying in the morning. The plan. But he has a lot of prep work he has to do. He of course gets everything taped off really good. I can imagine that's not my thing. I couldn't.
Luckily, it's little.
I'd be like, we don't need to tape that. We ain't gonna get no spray foam on it.
Because I was wondering about like the electrical boxes. I guess
he's gonna tape those up.
And then the windows and the doors, all that. So
it's a lot of prep work.
Yeah.
And that's why when he said I can bring my stuff, drop it off Tuesday and start work Wednesday, he probably ain't gonna spray foam tomorrow.
Right.
We need to have it ready.
Gotcha.
But he's probably going to be taping and prepping and doing all kind of other stuff.
I got you.
If the plumbing were to not be finished, it ain't the end of the world. He can still work tomorrow.
Yeah. I think everything's going to be okay.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think everything's fine. I think everything's going to be fine.
So if y'all need a house built, I'll be glad to be your subcontractor. Is that what you call them?
Oh, no,
contractor.
You'll be the contractor.
I'll be the contractor.
That means you would handle everything.
And by the time I do your build, I'll be able to weld too. So if I break anything during this job, I can fix it.
Boy, I tell you have really got everybody stirred up about the welding in a good way.
Yeah. Somebody sent an email and told me about a technical college that's here local.
Yeah, they did.
That offers adult welding classes. And I screenshotted his message, if that's a word, screenshotted.
It is.
And saved it. And I'm going to contact this place because I want to learn how to weld.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. We even had a friend of ours whose husband welds.
Yes.
And said that he would show you.
I just don't want to take up somebody's time. I want to go to a class.
Right.
And Marycarl's like, Mama, what time are you going to the class? I'm like, baby, don't worry about it. I will have you taken care of. She's thinking that I'm like going to be gone all night. And
yeah, that's what she's thinking. Are you going to be gone for a week?
And I'm like, it's
right down the road.
It's in this county. It's not like I'm going off to college. I think that's what she's thinking.
Maybe that's what she's thinking.
That I'm going off to welding college.
Just a couple hours, probably a few days a week. So I'm guessing.
I'm going to check into it because I'm going to do it.
I want you to check into it.
I'm going to do it. And I may start my own welding YouTube channel. Who knows?
Ooh, wouldn't that be awesome?
As long as you'll edit my videos.
I'll edit your videos. What could we call it?
Brooke's Welding.
Had to be something catchy. I'm trying to think.
Make it catchy.
Nothing. Cog, Mrs. Cog. I don't know. I can't. Nothing's coming to mind right now. I just can't think of nothing.
Don't worry. I'll have it all figured out by that time. I'll have it all figured out.
Oh, I believe your welding channel probably do pretty well.
You think?
I think so.
Well, I'm going to be contracting houses too, so we can add that to
your list.
Yes. This is the kind of things I like to do. I like to do things like that versus putting holes in weed mat and stapling weed mat down.
I have been dealing with the public as a service manager and parks manager for 22 years, and so that's why like being a contractor would not appeal to me whatsoever.
Oh, it appealed to me.
Would not appeal to me because you're just dependent on other people to do their job, and I know exactly how that feels. And
we've had good luck so far.
We have, but it's not going to always be good luck.
Well, it didn't start off good. You know, It didn't start off good.
No, it didn't.
And we could have gave up so easily right then and said, we'd let somebody else handle this.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
No.
And everything since then has gone spectacular.
Knock on wood.
Last week, the cabinet guy came out and he did his final measurements because the framework is done in Mama's house.
Right.
And he said he was going to get started building the boxes, which is just the plywood box.
Right.
And he said in about 2.5 weeks, he'll be installing the cabinets.
Ain't that crazy?
And he will let all the painting, countertops, everything get done before he puts the faces on the cabinets.
Right.
And I don't blame him because he said, it's going to get scuffed up, it's going to get scratched, and I'll have to fix it.
Right.
And so if I wait till the end, I won't be fixing anything.
That's right.
You'll be moving in one day and I'll be hanging cabinets the next day. So it's just kind of the way he prefers it, and I totally get it.
I totally
but I'm
get it too.
so thankful that we found a cabinet company that was right down the road.
Right down the road. That needs to be a saying. I need a shirt that says right down the road, because the cabinet guy literally is less than 5 miles down the road.
Yep.
Mr. Greg, and we knew none of these people.
No.
And we're in a super rural area, and these people serve, they probably don't do much in this area. They probably go to the bigger towns and cities right outside. But it's crazy. The cabinet guy is literally right down the road.
Yeah.
Mr. Greg is right down the road. Brant is a little further down the road, but not too far down the road.
Russell, the plumber, is right down the road.
Russell is less than 5 miles. The cabinet guy is less than 5 miles. Mr. Greg's less than 5 miles. Then the concrete guy, Fernando, is less than a mile, basically.
Yeah.
And then he suggested someone, he recommended a gentleman for the sheetrock, and he came, and he's less than a mile down the road. And I guess the only person is been the air conditioning guy.
And he lives local in this county.
Right.
He said he's not too far from here, but he goes over to where we're from, which was Valley Grand.
Yeah, which
to service that area. So we are local to him.
Yeah.
He loves work that's close by.
I'm sure he does. But the crazy thing is how many people are just right down the road.
And the spray foam guy, he's right down the road.
That's just crazy. It just blows my mind because everybody that comes here is like, man, I'm just right down the road. The gate guy.
The gate guy.
The put the gate up. He literally is right down the road because he told me, "You got any problems, man? I'm just right down the road. I just drive over here. We'll be here in 5 minutes."
Well, I tell you, it's been a blessing for us because we're able to support this local lovely community.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I mean, and speaking of local community, this hat that you have on, represents the Flying Peach, which is our favorite local restaurant.
We love these guys so much.
Tarek,
and Dammy.
So their name is Tammy is the lady, and Derek is the man.
Yeah.
They own this restaurant called the Flying Peach, and it's right down the road.
It's right down the road.
And y'all, I cannot say enough about these people. Besides the fact that their food is jam up the best barbecue and smoked chicken I've ever put in my mouth.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people.
They are wonderful people. Their restaurant is so daggum cute. If you're in the area,
go check them out.
But they're only open on
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
That's it.
And their hours are 11 to 7 or until sold out. And let me tell you something. So I'm thinking they must have opened like the first week of March.
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't know the exact date, but whatever that first Thursday was in March is when they opened. That first 3 days, they sold out every day before 7 o'clock. And the way I know that is they put it on Facebook. When they sell out, they post it on Facebook. So nobody, it's just kind of common knowledge that you check their Facebook page before you go over there.
Yes.
If you want to get a plate. They sold out those first 3 days. Okay, it's the first weekend they're open. That's people are missing the Flying Peach. That's why they sold out.
Right.
Second week open, sold out. This last week was the third week they were open, sold out. Saturday, I literally typed in the Flying Peach on Facebook. We weren't going to eat there that day because we'd eaten there the day before.
Right.
And I checked it because I'm just so giddy that these people are so successful.
It makes us so happy.
And by 5 o'clock Saturday, y'all, they had sold out. And I'm talking about sold out potatoes.
Everything.
They make these loaded potatoes that have barbecue on the top and cheese or any way you want it.
Right.
You wouldn't have to have the meat if you didn't want it. Desserts out the yin-yang, chocolate cobbler, peach cobbler, apple cobbler.
And my favorite, pecan
cobbler. Miss Tammy, you need to start you a recipe book, and we can call it,
I don't know what we call it, the Flying Peach recipe.
What did I call him? Dammy and Tarek.
Yeah.
And Tammy. Well, I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, she's a fantastic cook. She cooks all the sides homemade. They have hash brown casserole every day, macaroni and cheese, coleslaw, baked beans, and then all these fantastic desserts.
It's so good.
Along with barbecue.
Which Derek smokes himself.
He must get up at the butt crack of dawn.
Has to.
He has to. And then the smoked chicken, and they have these nachos that are knock your socks off.
They're really, really good. And since they're so busy, he's expanded. They have an off season, and they expanded the restaurant. And when we went over there the other day, oh, it is so cool.
Did y'all eat in the new place?
No, didn't eat in the new place.
Oh,
ate in the old place, but the original.
I had to go get some hay.
Yeah.
And you took Jacqueline and Eleanor and Zach over to the Flying Peach with Marycarl, and y'all ate there and brought me a plate back. But I don't know what I'm thinking because we brought Tracy's back here when we got it for her last week. Mm-hmm. So I haven't seen the new area.
You haven't seen the new area?
I went in and picked it up, but I didn't go in the new area.
Definitely going to go over there and let you look. It is gorgeous. Derek's got a one-man sawmill and mills his own wood, and it was just beautiful, the wood in there. And it looks like an old country store from like the 1930s or something. That's what it looks like. Reminds me of. Huh. And it's got, both of them. They got antiques on the wall. Right. And it's just so cute and homey. And in both places, not just one, but both, Andy Griffin is playing on a big screen TV.
Yep.
And it's just so cool. I mean, it's just got so much character.
And so Tammy is a singer.
Yes.
And she writes her own music, and she sings gospel music. Mm-hmm. And she's also a nurse. And Derek is a farrier. Mm-hmm. So if y'all remember watching the videos, we mentioned that Derek came over and tried to trim Moody's hooves. That's right. And so Derek's a farrier, and anybody in need of farrier, he cooks good barbecue. And I hadn't seen his farrier work, but I have a feeling he's just as good.
I'm sure he is.
So if y'all are in the area and want a good plate of food that's just down home south cooking,
it's good.
It's not your meat and three, but it's
not the meat and three. It's not barbecue. The meat and three.
It's barbecue, mm-hmm. And it's fantastic.
It's so good. It's so good. And speaking of local, I want to remind everybody about the Petals from the Past event, and it's coming up very soon, April the 23rd, which is a couple of Saturdays away. And it will be a meet and greet where it will be several of us YouTubers there from this area.
Maybe it'll be a meet and three too.
There's going to be food trucks there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's going to be food trucks there. I'm not quite sure how many they got lined up. That's why Jason from Petals is completely free. Does not cost anything. But he would like, if you are coming, for you to register on their website at pedalsfromthepast.com in the event section. And it'll say YouTube meetup. So that way he can be prepared for food, bathrooms, parking, and whatever else he may need for crowds. So that's one thing he wants you to do. But yeah, I'm so excited. Tracy will be there.
Tracy will be there.
Cattywampus Acres will be there. Hall's Greg and Sheila from Hall's Tools is going to be there. Wes and Angie and the Blairs from the Naked Hog's going to be there. And then there's a couple of designer channels that I don't know personally, but they're going to be there too as well. And if I forgot somebody, y'all, please don't be mad at me. But yeah, just go to their website. It'll be awesome.
And you know what else?
What's that?
If the people that are going to this event would like to check out the Flying Peach, it's not but just a hop, skip, and a jump.
That's true too.
To over true. There, and they're open till 7:00 or until sold out that day. So if you don't get your feel on at the food truck,
well, if you wanted to make a day of it, you could go to the Flying Peach first.
Yeah,
and get you to lunch.
Yeah, because at lunchtime they gonna have enough.
And then swing over to Petals.
Yep.
And come meet us. And then, because when you gonna go to Petals, it's an experience.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be there the rest of the day.
It's not like you gonna go and you're gonna, because Petals is just so awesome. When you go there, you're gonna be an experience, and you're probably gonna leave with a flower or a fruit tree or a rose.
And
or
I can bet
several.
you're gonna take some pictures to get some ideas to take back home with you.
It is. Yep, you are.
If you like plants, or even if you don't like plants, you could come and check it out because it's a sight to see.
And it's going to be the Antiques in the Garden, which they usually have a lot of antiques are going to be there. And there'll be vendors. Our good friends, the Spencers.
Laura Simply
Spencer, Making It. She's going to be there with her homemade goat soap she's got and all her goat soap
Laura's
products.
Such a sweet person.
She is.
I recommend anybody that's going, even if you don't need or want to buy her products, go over to her booth and say hi to her.
Just say hello, because she'll love it.
She's such an awesome person and just very knowledgeable and very expert at what she does.
Matter of fact, I would say that they had a huge influence on us.
Oh my gracious!
To be where we are now. We were not homesteading, or we were a little bit, and they were a fairly well-known homesteading, farmstead farm in our area. Chip had quit his job, sold his business, and that's what they did full time, and still do.
They still do it.
Yeah, just live off the land, then do their own thing. I mean, that's what they do.
I tell y'all something funny is Laura had told me once before that she loved peacocks because her grandmother always had peacocks. Mm-hmm. And so she had desired to one day have peacocks. And I can remember, Foxy was a puppy, I believe. Is that right?
They got the peacocks pre-Foxy.
Okay, so Bear must have been a puppy.
It must have been Bear.
And we had some peacocks that we grew out to an age. Peacocks are not easy to raise as babies.
Yeah, they're kind of like turkeys.
If they ever get wet feet or anything can happen to make a turkey not want to thrive.
Yep, turkeys and peacocks, the main thing with those guys are you want to keep them completely dry and keep their area clean as you can and draft free as you can until once they get to adolescent stage.
Yeah.
And adults, they're hardy as anything else.
That's right.
But those first few weeks of their life, they are really, really vulnerable to diseases, and wetness is the main thing. If the water drips, clean it up.
Yep.
And just be super careful with peacocks and turkeys.
Yep. I don't know why that is, but they're finicky birds.
Very finicky when they're young.
When they're young. Well, you get them up and you can hardly,
they're fine.
I mean,
completely
we have had
fine.
issues where turkeys were attacked by a predator, and we would see something that we had never seen before, doctor that area, give it some antibiotics, and next thing you know is the turkey's 100% again.
Yep.
Not when they're babies, so.
Not when they're babies.
So I grew a couple of peacocks out for Laura at Simply Making It, and Bear must have been a puppy.
Bear must have been a puppy. This was a long time ago.
I passed by Spencer Farm on the way to the vet, which I used a vet that I was very comfortable with, and I drove about 30 miles in order to get to him, Dr. Holbrook in Marion, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So I told Laura I had to take Bear to the vet for his shots. Would she be home because I had a surprise for her? And I took her that pair of peacocks, and she was absolutely elated.
She was.
Because her grandmother had peacocks, so it was near and dear to her heart.
Right.
And y'all, I'm here to y'all. It could be known as the Peacock Farm now.
Because they have multiplied.
They have so many peacocks.
Which is we have another friend that's had peacocks, and they multiply, but they seem to, the predators would get the babies, and that's how we got ours.
Yeah.
Because they had babies, and she was scared something was going to get them, and called us and asked us, will we get the babies, because she knew they were not going to make it.
But you know what I think happened?
What's that?
The Spencers have the barn that has the milking area, and then they have all kind of shelters for their
dogs.
And the dogs. And their peahens are very wise when it comes to picking a place to lay eggs and to hatch a brood of young pea chicks. Right. And they are all very successful.
Yeah, very successful.
Laura and Chip are the Spencer Peacock Farm now, and they have some beautiful offspring that
they do got pretty peacocks.
That they started from 2 peacocks.
They do got.
And Laura makes some beautiful art with
the peacock
feathers. The peacock feathers. Mm-hmm. Yes, and
go ahead.
I was going to say maybe she would have some of that at the petals.
She might have that. She definitely might have that. I will say this about the peacocks. They hadn't had any trouble with the peacocks until like a couple of years ago, and then she sent me a message. She's like, they're in my garden. And peacocks will destroy a garden in a matter of minutes.
I'm talking about
minutes. They will, any type of fruit, they will go through it fast.
It doesn't matter if they have anything else to eat or not.
No.
They just take it upon themselves to enter the fenced area, and just like that.
Just like that. I mean, they'll if you had a row of tomatoes, they'll take a couple of bites out of each one. Just boom, 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 boom. And if you got 3, and they got how many? I don't know how many they got. I can only imagine.
They have a lot.
And she was like, how are y'all keeping them out of the garden? And I told her about the prayer flags. And so she got some. And I haven't heard anything since. So I don't know if that's actually working or not.
I'll have to ask her about that.
I have to ask her about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Peacock Farm, Spencer's.
Y'all check out Laura's page if you haven't already.
Instagram and Facebook, yeah.
Simply Making It. And she does ship.
She does ship all over the United States.
And she has this cool little board that's the map of the United States, and she pins when she has an order from somewhere. So if y'all are in an odd location, order a block of soap from her just so she can pin your location on the map.
It would that would definitely make her day.
I just, I love to help people, and especially people that are deserving, and they are very deserving.
Yeah, we love helping our friends out. We really do. Flying Peach, the Petals from the Past, Lart Simply Making It.
We want everybody
love our friends
to be successful.
Yes.
And we are fortunate enough to be where we are today, and, we just want to help everybody we possibly can.
Definitely want to spread the love to our friends for sure.
But it's impossible to help everybody, unfortunately.
It is. It is. We do have some sad news. I hate to put a cloud over this, but our Great Pyrenees bear passed away this week. I could tell he was getting on. He was 11 or right at 11, which is, for his size, 10, 11 years would have been awesome. He was really, really slowing down. You could tell he was a little struggling, a little bit getting up. He was, when he walked, he was just really, really slowing down big time. And I knew it was going to be a matter of time before he wasn't going to be around anymore. We just owned dogs, for so long, and I could just tell. I just knew it. And he did. He passed away.
I honestly, when we decided that we were going to move from the old farm to this farm, I did not think Bear would live to see the move.
Yeah, you thought he may go before we moved over here. We could just tell he was just old. He was a really old dog, especially for his size, and he was big, because big dogs' life expectancy isn't near as it is for a smaller dog. And he was a big boy, and you could just tell. You could just tell. It was just a little bit at a time, just getting a little bit slower, slowing down a little bit more and more. And I'm just very thankful that, it was a little sudden, but I'm very thankful that it wouldn't prolong. Where we've had a dogs in the past that
our last Great Pyrenees, Lulu.
Yeah.
We actually had Bear when we had Lulu, and Lulu was a female, and she had lived a long life, just like Bear. And at
about the same age.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of her life, she was suffering some.
Yeah.
And we were struggling with the decision: do we have her put down? Do we not? Can she, make a change? And I'm just thankful, if there is a thankful to it, that he did not suffer.
And it's such a hard. Anybody's had animals, that ride to the vet is hard.
It's not fun.
It's hard.
And we have to face struggles in our life that we don't want to, but that's one that I really don't want to do.
Yep. It's strong.
But I will say that we had talked about, before we bought the farm, adding another Pyrenees or adding another guard dog to this farm. Mm-hmm. And at this time, we're going to let Foxy take care of it by herself. We're not in a position where we want to add a puppy.
Right, not at all.
We don't have the time that it would take in order to spend with it. And I know Foxy could train it, and I know that we could have one now, but it's not in our cards. So
yeah, it would. It just couldn't get the full attention that it needs or would need, and so we feel guilty on that part. And like I told you, because it came up, and I was like, everybody's right here. They're fenced in. Everybody's confined, and they're in this one area that Foxy shouldn't have any problem at all. And Sonny stays out with her a lot too. And I'm sure, Sonny's not a livestock guardian dog, but she's gonna follow suit if Foxy takes off running, barking.
That's right.
Sonny's gonna take off. And they're both the same size. They're not little dogs. They're not, they wasn't massive like Bear was. Bear was huge. I've never seen another Great Pyrenees that big.
He was huge.
I've never seen another one that big. He was a big dog.
I have a picture of me taking him to the vet when he was full grown, and I was driving a little Chevrolet hatchback Sonic at the time, and I put him in the back and I folded the seats down, and his head literally hit the top of it.
You opened the sunroof.
Yeah, and you could see people next to me just giggling, laughing, because it was a sight to be seen. He was such a big dog.
He was a big boy.
He was a big boy.
Very, very big boy.
And he will be greatly missed.
Greatly missed.
I can, just yesterday walking around and not seeing him laying in his hole or not seeing him laying in the pasture. He would just plop down anywhere.
He would just plop down anywhere
and rest all day to gear up for his work that he would do at night. And
I even hated it to break it to Brent and the builders because they had gotten attached to him.
Yeah.
But
it's inevitable.
Yeah. It is, and I'm just so glad that he didn't suffer for a long period of time.
Me too. So, he lived a good life.
He did.
And we did everything in our power to make sure that he had happy days.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's all you can do is offer the best of your ability, which we did. And Foxy's got a big job.
Foxy's got a big job, and I think she'll be completely fine. I heard her barking last night.
Yeah. Yep. She's resting now because we don't hear her. So.
Yeah. Well, she does. She does. And they all do. I mean, they're semi-nocturnal. They're kind of like Pink.
Yep. Pink is not semi-nocturnal. No. She's completely nocturnal.
Just about. Let she go down there.
She makes me worry sometimes because, I don't always hang out outside at night.
Ooh. Go ahead. Well, go ahead. I was going to tell you something about her that I hadn't told you. I've just thought of.
I don't always hang out outside at night, but when I do make sure on a daily basis that I lay eyes on her, that she is okay. But it just worries me sometimes when I hadn't seen her. And
so I went in that garage. I went into the barn one day this week. And first thing I do is I look for her, and she's 99% of the time she's there, and she loves laying on top of the hay. So much so that we've put our bed there, and she just lays there. Well, she wasn't there, and I was like, okay, well, no big deal. I mean, it's not unusual not to see her. So I'm looking for something, and I looked and I saw a pair of eyes staring right at me. She was asleep on top of the deep freezer.
Oh my gracious! I imagine that's warm.
It was cool that day.
Oh, it was cool. Okay.
So that's what she was doing.
Huh.
Yep, that's what she was doing.
She's an intelligent.
She
cat.
is. Love her to death.
And Tucker, poor thing, she's so needy, and Pink's just the opposite.
Pink's just the opposite.
Not to say she doesn't enjoy her loving.
Yeah.
But it's a different.
Totally different personalities. Totally different personality.
Tucker's got this, that just says, hold me and pick me up.
Please.
And then you hold her and you pick her up and I want to get back down.
Then you let her down, and then just within a few minutes, she wants you to pick her back up again.
Yeah. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode.
I do hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cogcast podcast, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be good.
Well, it's another one in the books for the Cog Hill 40. Join us again next week for our next edition of the Cog Hill podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.